Alright, so here we go. Looks like we got the room ready. No. Microjiz and Microblizz are not the same person. Alright, so now, is this a warm-up? Okay, this is a warm-up. So, it looks like Cheep just, keeping it pretty nice, nice and clean here. Getting a T-spin double, trying to end it off with a small little combo. Meanwhile, Spinifex has a really nice, clean garbage well to work with. So, even then though, he's not doing too great of a job at downstacking through that, which means that Cheep is going to be able to pile on more. And Spinifex isn't doing too well at getting down. Tries to rotate the I piece over, not the O piece. And because of that, and not having the I piece to put in the well, Spinifex loses that round, but that was only warm-up, fortunately for him. So here we go. Now into the actual round, we see Cheep starting off with a 6-3 stack. Again, with a 6-3 stack, you can just quickly pump out T-spin doubles and Tetrises, and try and overrun Spinifex. Now, I believe there's a pretty big speed gap in this matchup. So, because of that, Cheep's gonna be able to probably attack more, and is gonna be leading this match. But even then, we see them both playing at 2.5 PPS this time, which goes against anything that I would have thought would happen. But it looks to be possibly outside of Spinifex's means here. He probably doesn't usually play at this PPS, because if you look at his gameplay, it looks like he's not very used to playing at this kind of speed. Just off of how much he's making little useless skims. But now he's sticking to the bottom of his board, and he seems to have cleaned up his act here. Playing a little bit nicer. And meanwhile, Cheep misdropping there, but skims through it. And I don't know what Cheep's doing, actually. Cheep doesn't seem to be finding the kind of attacks that he usually would. His APM is still at 97, though. So it's not like his APM is being too compromised, I would say. So now, Spinifex staying at the bottom of the board. Meanwhile, Cheep getting pushed up a bit, but all of that garbage is clean, so he's going to be able to send that right back at Spinifex. But they're both still remaining pretty low on the board. We're not seeing too much happening this match. This is pretty even on back and forth. Now Cheep, trying to find the spike that he needs to get this game in motion, but it's just not taking off. Everything that Cheep is throwing in, Spinifex is just countering off, to the point where they're both at the same spot, and hurry up garbage is now in play. So we might see a game that's pretty much the only time where something happens is when hurry up starts coming. And even then, they're both playing pretty similar. But Cheep, though, taking this opportunity to put some more pressure on, finding some pretty creative T-spin doubles, and that's gonna put him in the lead and eventually lead up to the first win of this match. So now Spinifex just gets spiked up again. I blinked and and I saw Spinifex at the top of the board. That's definitely more like the Cheep that I know. So now, looks like Cheep just building up that 6-3 stack again. Going for a T-spin double. And keeps a nice balance between back-to-backs and downstacking here, to not give up pressure while still keeping his board at a pretty nice height. And I've noticed that Cheep is pretty good at managing that balance. Spinifex isn't too bad at it either, but I think that out of the two, Cheep is definitely better. So now, Spinifex staying at the bottom of the board here. Meanwhile, Cheep has some messy garbage to work with. But Cheep still has a pretty good downstack, though. So it's not like it's too bad for him. Although, what is bad is that he didn't hard drop the T-piece, and he held instead. So he flipped the T-piece, rotated it in, and then held, and so that's super unfortunate of a misdrop. Speaking of misdrops, we get to see another one of them, but this time it doesn't matter nearly as much. Cheep still going to be able to put on some more pressure, but his garbage is only coming out as clean on Spinifex's side. And for that reason, Spinifex is still able to continue on pressure. Now Cheep being pushed so high up on the board. Skims into a T-spin double there, and just trying to find a way out. Goes for the T-piece instead. Very good option because it keeps his garbage holes open, although it was a dangerous option too, as he could have died if Spinifex sent at least one attack. Luckily for Cheep, that didn't happen, so now we see Cheep taking that small little error of Spinifex's and enlarging it up into a lead. Although that lead doesn't last for very long. It goes away pretty quick. And with that lead leaving, what comes is hurry-up garbage, and it looks like Cheep's actually at the disadvantage during this hurry-up stage, being higher up on the board. But he is able to get down stack, and turn that clean garbage into attacks on the Spinifex's side. So we're going to see a pretty fast exchange during the hurry-up stage. Hurry-up garbage now at half of the board height, but both of them still going strong with APM. But looks like Cheep's doing better. Cheep gets down fast enough, and Spinifex does not have the eyepiece to clear through that. And Cheep's going to take the win. Now Cheep, leading with 3 points, but these have been very close games. Closer than what the score suggests. So we're seeing Spinifex, again, trying to continue on using that garbage resourcefully and getting nice attacks off, despite not having that huge of a speed advantage here, or not even an advantage. I worded that completely wrong. But despite not playing as fast as he could be playing, he's still using his garbage nicely to keep his APM high. Or, I wouldn't say high, but existent, I should say. And so, Spinifex just trying to stick down low. And Cheep's actually under some pressure here. Under fire, has some messy garbage to work with too. And it looks like Spinifex was able to continue on that lead. Keeps on attacking, and is able to take the win. So now, Spinifex trying to get back into this game. Cheep going for a 4-5 stack, just continuing to pump out APM. Having a continuous stream of it, but then misdrops the Z-piece, so this is going to be pretty difficult for him to get out of. And it looks like he can't get out of that one, and that's going to be the win for Spinifex. And actually, take note that both of their APMs were under 60 that round, so kind of a sloppy round. But it looks like this one is a little bit less sloppy. Now Spinifex being pushed up to the very top of his board. Cheep trying to continue on that pressure. Gets a nice T-spin double there too. And now going for a Tetris into a T-spin double. That's going to be so much pressure on the Spinifex. Spinifex is going to have to work hard to get out of this one, if he is going to try. But very nice down stack. That was a creative skim from him. And because of that, and because of Cheep's misdrops, he's going to be able to keep on getting down further and further. And now Cheep has so much cheese to work with due to Spinifex's combos. Now he's under a lot of super cheesy garbage. And even then though, Cheep's down stacking is good enough that he's comfortable with dealing with that kind of cheese. And he does get out. And now reversing the cheese onto Spinifex's side. Spinifex's down stacking also looking so good. Wow, that was a nice down stack. That combo through all the cheese was very nice. It was very nice. So now we actually see a 3-3 game. I honestly thought that Cheep had a big advantage in this game, but Spinifex is proving that that may not be so true. Now, Spinifex, but actually, wow! That down stack combo from Cheep. looked over at Cheep, and he was just finishing up with such a good combo. Just in an instant, from the bottom of his board right to the top. Cheep bringing him up so far, so fast. And that's the thing with Cheep. You can't really anticipate those kinds of huge spikes. They just come out of nowhere. And I know from first-hand experience of playing with Cheep. Sometimes you're just playing, you're minding your own business, and all of a sudden you get spiked to the very top of the board. And that kind of win condition is scary to play against. And we're seeing it again right there. Cheep just pushing Spinifex so far. Spinifex was at like the quarter of his board. He had 5 lines built up and just, in an instant, gets it all up to the very top. And so now, Cheep looks to be building up some more attacks. He should be downstacking at this point. I don't know why he decided to hold it off so far, but he does end up getting to his downstack. He procrastinated it so hard though, which is why I'm surprised that he got out. Spinifex just needed a little bit more attack to really capitalize on that. And because of that, Cheep just gets the downstack, hits it hard, and spikes out Spinifex. And so now Cheep trying to deal with PC damage here. But gets a TSS, and now opens up and unlocks that huge well. So Spinifex also misdropping that Z piece. Now trying to find his way out, but he can't quite make it. And Cheep's gonna take that round. Now Cheep, looking to be building up that 7-2 stack. Going into a T-spin triple too, but Spinifex also staying at the bottom of his board and being good on creating those T-spins. Nice and efficient T-spin doubles coming out from both of them, but now Cheep goes for a really good spike there. Ending it off with a small combo there to kind of send that last little bit and squeezing out every bit of damage that he possibly can from his pieces. So now, it looks like Cheep trying to engage into a 7-2 stack though. Cancelled it off to address his garbage though, instead. Now places an L piece there. Pretty weird misdrop, but he does deal with it pretty nicely. Meanwhile, Spinifex also chilling at the bottom of his board too. Not too much going on this time around. We might see another match that goes into hurry up. Just by the way things are going. But actually, speaking of the way things are going, Cheep looks to be trying to build up some more attacks, but then, while he's building up his attacks, he misdrops an S-piece overhang, overdashes it to the side, and because of that, he's not able to attack as much as he should be, and then Cheep gets spiked out. Spinifex still keeping those attacks consistent where it matters, which is directly when that misdrop hit. So now Cheep going for that T-spin triple there. Ends it off with a T-spin double too. That's going to be some nice damage onto Spinifex. Spinifex under pressure, but it doesn't look like it's bothering him too much here. But what may bother him is this next spike that's coming up, which is consisting of messy garbage. Now Spinifex trying to make his way down. But his garbage is so messy, he's going to have to downstack efficiently to get out of this one. And it looks like Cheep still piling on more and more damage. Ends it off with a T-spin triple, and that's going to be enough to take the win. Now at 8-2, Spinifex is 4. It's going to be two rounds towards the win. Now Spinifex taking the T-spin before he builds the stack around it, so it's going to be a T-spin nothing. And meanwhile, Cheep, just again trying to build up that damage. I feel like he's kind of losing his patience and building more T-spin triples and such, like we're seeing right now. Just because these games have been lasting so long, and they've been so back and forth that Cheep really needs to find an alternative win condition. But it looks like that may be just now, because Cheep has such clean garbage to work with. But maybe not, because Spinifex uses the garbage that he receives to cancel off the incoming garbage. Very clean, and very solid defense from Spinifex. And now Spinifex has some clean garbage to work with, and now one of those huge spikes is gonna be going towards Cheep. Cheep now on the receiving end of a huge surprise 9-line spike from Spinifex. Now, Cheep going for a T-spin double there. Just building it up a bit more. Looks to be trying to make something out of this, but it's a bit strange. Goes for a down stack combo, but he waits a bit at the end, and that kind of indecision is not how you continue a small bit of cheese into a victory. But I'm sure Cheep fully realizes that. Now Spinifex going for a T-spin double there. Gets another one too. Just trying to keep on pressure. And he also continues back-to-back with a T-spin single that's, I believe, donated. I didn't fully catch it. But one way or another, Spinifex is now sticking to the bottom of his board here. And just trying to get some APM out. Both of these players are pretty good on attacking at the bottom, which is why we see them stick to the bottom so much, and without any player getting a distinct advantage. Now Spinifex going for a TKI start. And it looks like both of them, again, being pretty even on attacks. And it's, again, because they can both attack on empty board, it really leads to such even back and forth, like this. And to the point where sometimes even hurry-up garbage needs to be the decision-maker of these. Spinifex now trying to get down to his garbage here. Doing a pretty good job of that. And Cheep looks to be, I believe this is a side 4 wide, is it? It's a side 5 wide, and it's not built out too much. And he also covers his garbage hold. So now Cheep looks to be trying to engage into a down stack here. Has 2 Z pieces though, so not much he can really do there. Tetrises and TSSs. That's gonna put some cheese garbage first, and then the clean garbage in the middle. A nice sandwiched layer of cheese garbage. And because of that, Spinifex now under so much pressure. They keep on piling on from Cheep. And Cheep's gonna take the win. Now match point for him. And so now, Cheep putting on some nice garbage onto Spinifex's side. A very good spike. And Spinifex just doesn't get that eyepiece in time to put it right in that well. And that's gonna be the win for Cheep. Super good game. And so now Cheep is gonna be going on and fighting against Wumbo in the next round.